Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is the Reluctant Gringo, back with another video. The 80s were known for movie franchises, Back to the Future, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and many more. But one franchise stands out as the 80s most iconic horror franchise, and one of the most important ever delivered in film. Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger is the 80s slasher icon. As much as I love Jason and Michael Myers, Freddy owned the decade like no other slasher. His look, his signature razor blades, his story, and his personality made him one of the greatest movie monsters to come along in a long, long time. Halloween is fast approaching, so what better time than now to give you my ranking of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. As always, this is my opinion and yours may be different. I would love to hear about it in the comments section below. As well, if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for future content. With that, let's begin. Number 9. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 2010 remake. Let's just get this one out of the way. The 2010 remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street is a terrible film because it tries to be too different from the source material and just doesn't deliver any fun. And that is what audiences look for in a Nightmare film. Fun. Jackie Earle Haley is a great actor, and his version of Freddy is menacing and dark and unnerving, but he isn't fun, so he isn't Freddy. He makes a great generic slasher, but not for a Nightmare film. The rest of the cast is a great cast, talented actors, but the material and the direction just is not there. Nightmare films have a vibrancy to them, even in their darker moments, but this film goes for an updated, gritty look with very muted tones and a lot of shadowing. Again, it makes for a great generic slasher, but it does not make for a great Nightmare film. As well, yes, we all know that Freddy was a child murderer, and that there was always a hint of something even more sinister and sick about his character that was never explicitly spoken. But this film goes all in and calls out Freddy as a child predator, which makes the film even more unlikable because Nightmare fans like Freddy Krueger. By explicitly charging Freddy with this particular crime, making him unlikable on any level, you just can't enjoy seeing Freddy in this movie. Art the Clown is sick, but he's funny to watch. Michael Myers is threatening, but fun to watch. Jigsaw, Jason, Sam, all fun to watch because no matter what their crimes, they do not do what the filmmakers of the 2010 Nightmare remake claim that Freddy has done. In short, this movie actually harmed the franchise instead of revitalizing it, and it is a film I wish they never made. Number 8. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Next to the 2010 remake, this is the worst of the original series. What a mess of a movie. Alice is back, but instead of the well-developed character we got in Part 4, The Dream Master, we get a shell of a character that had no depth or feeling. And this may be chalked up to the direction Alice was given, or it just may be that the material is so bad it just can't shine a turd no matter how hard you try. The focus on Freddy's mythology was a great idea, but it's poorly executed and just feels forced to the point that you just don't care. The film tries to go places to subvert expectations, but it's not smart enough to do it properly. Freddy can kill during waking hours because he's possessing the baby. Freddy can possess unborn children. Freddy can possess people. There's so much that goes astray of who the Freddy character is that the story's all over the place. As well, you can tell that the director and the writers were trying to be all things to all people. There are moments of levity and then there are moments of despair. The movie oscillates between trying to be funny to trying to be dark and intelligent. It just doesn't work. Yes, one of Freddy's greatest kills is in this movie with Greta and her force feeding, but it's just not enough to save this movie, making it one of the worst in the franchise. Number 7. A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Final Nightmare. This 1991 film and 6th entry into the franchise could have been lower on this list. It's not a very good horror film. It is funny at times, it is campy, and had elements of it that makes it so bad it's good, but it isn't scary. Never once during this movie was I scared, nervous, had anxiety, or even felt a single tingle in my leg. It's a horror film that does not deliver on the horror. The characters are empty and we just don't care about them. They never have any real motivation. We never fully understand what they do and why they do it. The film is like a boat out at sea, just meandering on the current without a rudder to give it a guidance. Plus, Freddy has a wife and kids now. One may think that this would flesh out Freddy as a character more, but it does not. The execution of this new revelation into Freddy's mythos is so poorly done, it actually detracts from him as a villain. Freddy is a supernatural being at this point. Any attempts to make him normal or human only moves the story backwards. But like I said, it's funny at times. The Bed of Nails kill, the video game sequence kill, Freddy doing a Wicked Witch of the West impression, it's funny, so that gives it something to enjoy. And yes, I saw this movie in the theaters and the 3D is very, very bad. I'm talking Jaws 3D bad. So if you see the non-3D version, you're probably winning at this point. Number 6, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. The director of this 1985 film and direct sequel to the original claims in an interview that he never intended the film to have such a homosexual subtext. If that is true, then what the hell was this guy thinking when he made this film? And look, this film is trashed a lot by the fans and its reputation has been tarnished over the decades, but it really is not the worst of the bunch. And when you look at the social commentary that the film makes in the context of the time it was made, parts of it work. Now, I'll admit, the film has a lack of any sense of logic. The father is an idiot and does not react to the world around him like a normal person would. grounded, the acting is terrible, the rules that Freddy existed by in the first movie are non-existent, Freddy does not kill people in their sleep, he is possessing Jesse, the main character, who kills them for him, slowly taking over Jesse like we would take over a character in an RPG video game. The film just makes no sense, but for some reason, the emotional center of the story, that is, Jesse's struggle with his sexuality, does anchor the narrative. It makes this film not just a horror sequel, but a commentary on the social structure of the Reagan's 80s. For this, it earns a number 6 spot. Number 5. Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. Without this film, there is no Scream, and there is an argument to be made that this film really is not a Freddy film because the real Freddy is not in it. An ancient spiritual evil is just using the idea of Freddy to get to its victims, especially original final girl Heather's son, Dylan. This Freddy is more grounded, toned down, but still colorful, and Robert Englund pulls triple duty here, playing Robert Englund, playing Freddy from the actual movies, and playing this new version of Freddy. And you can see that he's having a blast doing it because Robert Englund is a classically trained actor who has the ability and range to do a lot on screen. Wes Craven returning to direct this film definitely made it a point to reward Englund with this freedom to explore what Freddy has become in the zeitgeist of American film. And speaking of Wes, yes, he saved Freddy with this film. He manages to wipe away some of the bad taste that Freddy's dead and the dream child left on the movie-going public. He also manages the meta-commentary that he would exploit so well years later with Ghostface and the Woodsboro murders. Is this the best Freddy film? No. It is one that I don't particularly gravitate to when in the mood for a nightmare movie, but it is certainly a competent film that manages some scares, manages to reset Freddy Krueger as a character, and manages some fan service by bringing back legacy characters to explore the universe they created way back in 1984. Number 4. Freddy vs. Jason. My most controversial entry into this list will be this one. I like this film. I know it has Jason Voorhees in it, so how can I say it's a nightmare film? Because it is. Without Freddy, the film does not happen. Freddy is the character that makes everything happen, and you all know I love Jason, so having him is a real bonus for me. Yes, the acting, the special effects, the lack of Kane Hodder as Jason in this long-anticipated showdown are all detractors of this film. But Englund's Freddy is on point. He's menacing, he is cunning, he is strategic, he is manic, he is funny, he is quippy, he is Freddy at his best. The atmosphere of the film is darker, but unlike the remake in 2010, this darker atmosphere only gives Freddy the ability to stand out even more, like a single light bulb in a darkened room. Jason has some spectacular kills. Freddy has some great dream sequences. Are there problems with the narrative? Yes. Are there problems with the logic of the film? Yes. Are there problems with how they give Jason certain foibles to make the story progress, like his fear of water? Yes. But it just doesn't matter when you finally get to that third act and the heavyweight fight begins. It delivers, and really, that's what we all came to this movie for, so everything else can be forgiven, making this film entirely rewatchable on many levels. Number 3. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. Some of you may have this film lower on this list, some of you may have it higher. Either way, for me, this film is not a standalone film, but a continuation of Part 3, Dream Warriors. Part 4 teeters on the line of going too far into the comedic Freddy, threatening the character's credibility and the film's impact overall, but it never crosses the line. It manages a balance. It is probably the last of the great nightmare films before the Dream Child destroys the franchise, but as fourth entries into a franchise go, it is a great submission. The kills are great, the waterbed sequence, Debbie's transformation into a cockroach, and the subversion of audience expectations by killing off the original Dream Warriors early on give the film an edge that is both enjoyable and unforeseen. The comedy, in conjunction with the horror, is done right. Final Girl Alice is developed through a great character arc. You can tell a lot of care was being given to give audiences what they want from an Elm Street film and to give them something a little different. Part 4 is a kind of a swan song for the franchise. It manages to stick the landing and close out an epic chapter in the history of Freddy Krueger. Number 2. A Nightmare on Elm Street. The original Nightmare on Elm Street is a classic horror film. This cannot be argued. It introduces to the world the character of Freddy Krueger, one of the most popular villains in film history. Wes Craven is at his best at the helm of this film. He not only manages to create a great character with Robert Englund, but he also does what Wes Craven does best. He creates a world where you can get lost. Some of the scenes of this film are still some of the best in any horror franchise. Glenn's death by being sucked down into his bed, Tina's ceiling tumble, the over-the-top blood and gore that is done with artistic merit. These are film moments that will last forever. Audiences had never seen anything like Freddy Krueger up until then. Burnt skin, fedora, striped sweater, his blackened teeth, his snare, his laugh. His introduction was perfectly done to the point where he became an instant pop culture icon. One thing Wes Craven did with this film that set it apart from all other slashers was the character of Nancy Thompson. Most final girls run and scream and eventually overcome their tormentor through sheer desperation. Nancy is not that type of final girl. She's a badass that goes after Freddy. She does not run. She stands directly in front of him, swallowing her fear and staring down her personal devil. This is what made A Nightmare on Elm Street stand out from the beginning. The old formula of slasher films was tinkered with just a bit to give audiences something new, but yet familiar and enjoyable. Any budding horror filmmaker will do well to study this movie before embarking on their own. Number 1. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. This is the best of the franchise. Part 3 is where the narrative strength of Freddy's story peaks and where Freddy himself peaks as a character. When you think of what Freddy Krueger should be, what we as audiences always want him to be, it is this version. He is haunting, he is terrifying, he is playful, he is funny at all the right levels in this film. Wes Craven returned to help write this script, and you can tell where his fingerprints are on the final product. Because Wes returned, so too did Heather Langenkamp, Nancy from the original film. By including her, we got the original final girl and a new final girl, Kristen. Yes, 2 final girls, giving Wes a chance to close out Nancy's character in a way that made sense and pass the torch to a new generation. This is a lesson modern films need to learn. I'm looking at you, Last Jedi. The Dream Warriors, a group of teens in a mental ward, are our protagonists. They all have unique characteristics and stories. The audience gets invested in them in a way that future films fall short of. With that, their deaths are memorable and tailored to their individuality. Joey, the mute, is tongue-tied above hell. Karen, a recovering addict, is killed through an overdose. Philip likes puppets, so Freddy turns into one, using his veins as strings. And Jennifer, the most memorable kill in the franchise? Well, welcome to prime time, bitch. Giving the Dream Warriors the power to lucid dream as a means to fight Freddy gives the film something more than just a revolving door of kills until the end. Our heroes have a chance, a hope, to overcome Freddy and fight back, which gives the audience a reason to cheer and root on this eclectic group. If the Nightmare series was to remain just a trilogy, then this would have been a perfect ending to the franchise, and there would be no complaints. A lot of trilogies missed the mark on the 3rd installment. This one does not. Wes Craven and his team deliver a satisfying and enjoyable film that stands out as the best in the franchise. And that's my list. What do you think? What is your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film? I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, click on the thumbnails to see my ranking of the Friday the 13th franchise and my list of the top 10 horror movies you must watch this Halloween season. I appreciate your time and I thank you for watching. Until next time, from south of the border, I am your reluctant gringo. Salute and a huevo.